Hey, what's up guys? I'm Justin with AmericanTrucks.com, and you're probably wondering why am I in the shop currently standing between two shiny blue Ford pickups, 2016 XLT F150, and of course that brand spanking new 2019 Ranger. Well, if you guys are fans of the channel, then hopefully by now you've had the chance to watch our full breakdown and review of the 2019 Ranger, where I talk the good, the bad, and the pricey on Ford's new midsize pickup truck. Now that video got a lot of people talking, including a lot of my buddies here at the shop. Which would you guys rather prefer given the same amount of money? Lightly used F-150 or a brand new Ranger? So that's why we're here today. We got these two in the shop. We're gonna let them duke it out. We're gonna talk pros, we're gonna talk cons, and ask you guys which one of these two trucks behind me is getting your money. You definitely have to get involved in the discussion here, guys. It's very important. We'd love to hear your opinion on the subject matter. And as always, if you dig what we do here, please give us a subscribe. We certainly would appreciate it. But switching gears, let's talk some off-roady stats, if you will. And it's actually a lot closer than you might think here between these two, despite the size differences. Case in point, ground clearance here for the 4x4 F-150 is gonna measure in at 9.4 inches overall, compared to the Ranger, which is 8.9 inches. So F-150's only got about a ½ inch, give or take, compared to the Ranger. Now, going to the approach, breakover, and departure angle, three key factors in determining off-road performance. And the F-150 is gonna measure in order, 25.5, 21, and 26 degrees respectively, whereas the Ranger is gonna measure in at 28.7, 21.5, and 25.4 degrees respectively. So even though this is a smaller truck, that shorter wheelbase is certainly helping out and giving it a slight edge in some of these key off-road stats. But enough about all that. I know not everyone cares about these kind of oddball figures or measurements, but I do think it's still important to point out because despite what our eyes might tell us, there are more similarities between these two trucks than we might think. But let's move to the side and the rear because we do have a big thing to talk about back there. Good opportunity to talk about styling. Don't want to get too hung up on it though because it's very subjective. However, me personally always prefer the boxier lines of the 2015 and newer F-150 to kind of the softer lines, if you will, of the Ranger. But great opportunity to ask you guys, which one do you prefer in this regard? Well, here we are, guys. Probably our biggest glaring difference to date, maybe even a make it or break it part for some prospective buyers out there, and that, of course, is bed size. Again, 2019 Ranger, your options are Super Crew like we have here with the 5-foot box, or Super Cab will give you a 6-foot box. F-150 on the other hand, well, you get a 5.5 foot, 6.5 foot, and even 8-foot box. Yeah, your cab size might be a little limited with those longer wheelbase trucks, but you guys get the point. So basically what we're saying is if you're a tradesman or a contractor and you need to use your bed often, this might be one of those areas where the F-150 is the clear-cut winner because size is certainly gonna matter in this regard. And even despite these two trucks in the shop, the 5.5 foot bed and the 5-foot bed here of the Ranger, only a ½ foot difference in length, but the F-150 is giving you 10 plus more cubic feet of usable space. So even though the 5.5 foot box is the smallest option available for the F-150, you're still getting a bunch more usable space when compared to this new Ranger. But enough about that, let's head up front, talk about another glaring difference between these two trucks, and my favorite part, engines. Now the F-150, you are getting a menu of powertrain options, whereas 2019 Ranger, you're getting one. I know, insert sad trombone. Now don't get me wrong, the 2.3 liter 4-cylinder EcoBoost is certainly not a bad engine, but the people, the masses, we want options, right? That's what we demand, and the F-150 has you covered, and then some, with a bunch of V6s, a V8, and now even a diesel option. Now, the engines, or lack thereof, here at the Ranger kind of lend themselves to rather lopsided towing numbers, right? This thing's gonna max out at a white-knuckled 7,500 pounds, whereas the big brother F-150 over there is gonna give you 12,000 plus without breaking a sweat when optioned out correctly. Now, I know what you're thinking. Smaller engine, at least I can expect substantially better fuel mileage, right? Well, of course, that does depend on the engine choice for your F-150, but if we're comparing the two trucks in the studio here today, this thing's got the 2.7 EcoBoost. The Ranger is gonna get a claimed 20 city, 24 highway, compared to the F-150 and that 2.7 EcoBoost's 19 city, 26 highway. Guess what? They're both getting 22 miles per gallon claimed by Ford and the EPA. Now, sure, driving styles, driving habits, all that stuff will certainly kind of affect your total output, but it just kind of goes to show you these trucks are really very similar in a lot of ways, and the smaller engine isn't necessarily going to give you a landslide in difference. But enough about that. Time to hop in, talk about our one last big different factor here with these trucks. That, of course, is your interior. Well, if you guessed that the interior of the Ranger is considerably smaller than the F-150, you would be correct, and it's really no big surprise there. Now, that's not to say the Ranger feels claustrophobic by any stretch of the imagination, but comparing the numbers, the F-150's interior is packing roughly 30 plus more cubic feet when we're comparing Super Crew to Super Crew. Ranger here is going to measure in at just over 97.5 cubic feet to the F-150's nearly 132 cubic feet. So again, not really close in that regard. Again though, the Ranger, it feels nice for what it is. It doesn't feel bloated or big. Still would not hesitate to put a family of 4 in this thing, car seat, whatever the case. Still plenty of room. Now, size aside, the touches, the finishes, everything, XLT to XLT is very similar here. A lot of the similar finishes, sport cloth interior, features as far as sync, touchscreen goes, but one big win for the Ranger here is going to be your Co-Pilot 360, which is baked in as a standard feature on your XLT. It's going to give you awesome safety features such as your blind spot awareness, cross traffic alert, automatic emergency braking, and even lane keeping. So really nice stuff baked into a middle of the road trim truck, whereas you'd have to dig pretty deep to get similar options in your F-150. But if we're talking overall size, again, the F-150 is going to be the clear victor. So what does it all mean? Well, I go back to that saying of if you're gonna use your truck like a truck, then the F-150 might be the better choice given the same amount of money. You're getting more usable space in the bed, more interior space, and it's just better for utilitarian purposes. However, if you want something that's gonna kind of drive like a car but give you all the pros of a truck, the Ranger is gonna be an awesome choice as well. I mean, this thing's great to whip around, fits easily in parking spaces, and doesn't feel massive while on the road. So that brings us back to the $1 million question. What are you guys doing with your money? You going for a 2 to 3 year old F-150 for the same price as a brand new Ranger, or do you just really like the new features and the look of that new shiny midsize Ford pickup? We want to know. Get involved in the discussion. Guys, thanks for watching this one. We had a little bit of fun. We hope you enjoyed it. We did this based off of your feedback, so again, get involved. We'll talk to you soon. I'm Justin. Thanks again for watching. And remember, for all things F-150 and Ranger, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.